There's an invisible force emanating from you right now, an energy that transcends the physical and touches the spiritual, a vibe women pick up on before you even speak. But how many men truly know this power? How many understand that their sexual energy isn't just a biological urge, but the very essence of their magnetism, their presence, their creative and spiritual power? The question that should echo in your mind right now is unsettling yet necessary. Are you squandering the most potent force you possess, or are you learning to channel it to become the man you were always meant to be? We live in an age where instant gratification has become the religion of the masses, where immediate pleasure is worshipped as a false god promising happiness but delivering only emptiness. Modern society has built an altar to unrestrained release, selling the illusion that satisfying impulses equals freedom. But what nobody tells you is that this apparent freedom is in fact the most subtle of prisons. Every discharge of vital energy is a drop of power slipping through your fingers. Every fleeting moment of pleasure is another brick in the wall separating you from your true essence. Napoleon Hill, in his profound and revolutionary wisdom, discovered something the ancient masters already knew, but that our civilization has forgotten: sexual energy is the most potent force in the human universe. It's no coincidence that history's greatest geniuses, transformative leaders, and visionary artists all shared one common trait: the ability to transmute their sexual energy into creative power, personal magnetism, and achieving force. This isn't an abstract theory, but a universal law governing the manifestation of human potential. When a man learns to retain his vital essence, something extraordinary happens on levels science is only beginning to understand. His aura expands, his presence intensifies, his magnetism becomes palpable. Women, endowed with a more refined intuitive sensitivity, are the first to notice this transformation. They sense, before they even rationalize, that they are in the presence of a different man, someone possessing an inner strength, an energetic density, a depth that can't be faked or manufactured. But to truly understand this phenomenon, we need to delve into the depths of the human psyche and unravel the hidden mechanisms governing attraction, charisma, and personal power. Sexual energy isn't just a physical impulse, it's the earthly manifestation of the universal creative force, the same energy that moves the stars, that sprouts life from the earth, that drives all creation and transformation in the cosmos. Imagine for a moment your vital energy as a powerful river springing from the mountains of your deepest essence. When this river is constantly diverted to satisfy momentary impulses, it fragments into small streams that get lost in the aridity of existential emptiness. But when its waters are contained and directed with purpose, they become a force capable of moving mountains, of irrigating gardens of infinite possibilities, of fueling the most ambitious dreams and the highest visions. Seminal retention isn't a practice of repression, but of refinement. It's not about denying sexuality, but elevating it to a higher level of expression. It's like transforming coal into a diamond through pressure and time, like converting raw metal into gold through the alchemic fire of consciousness. When a man consciously embraces this practice, he's not depriving himself of pleasure, he's discovering infinitely deeper and more lasting pleasures that emerge from connection with his inner power. Women possess an innate ability to sense the energy of the men around them. It's as if they have spiritual antennas tuned into frequencies most men don't even know exist. When a woman encounters a man who practices conscious retention, she doesn't need him to talk about it, she simply feels it. There's a density to his presence, a depth in his gaze, a magnetic force that attracts effortlessly, without manipulation, without artifice. This transmuted energy manifests in subtle yet powerful ways, in the firmness of his voice, which carries the authority of someone who knows their own power, in the confidence of his movements, which flow with the grace of someone in harmony with themselves, in the intensity of his presence, which fills the room without the need for words or exaggerated gestures. It's a masculinity that doesn't need to assert itself through aggression or competition because it emanates naturally from a solid and unshakable center. But we've reached a crucial point in the journey. If you're feeling that these words resonate with something deep within your soul, if you're recognizing in yourself the potential for this transformation, then I need to share something important with you. This isn't just an isolated conversation, but part of a much larger journey of self-discovery and personal power that we're building together. So if you truly wish to delve deeper into these teachings, if you want to be part of a community of men committed to their spiritual and personal evolution, then subscribe to this channel right now and hit the notification bell. Because what you're about to discover about the power of sexual transmutation can literally transform not only how women perceive you, but how you relate to your own inner strength. Don't let this knowledge get lost in the vastness of the internet. Ensure you're here when we share the deepest secrets of masculine alchemy. The difference between an ordinary man and a man who masters his vital energy is like the difference between a flickering candle and a powerful lighthouse. Both emit light, but only one has the power to guide ships through life's storms. When you retain your essence, you're not just conserving bodily fluids, you're accumulating vital force, concentrating creative power, refining your own vibratory frequency until it becomes irresistible to those seeking true substance in a world of superficiality. Women sense this energy because they themselves are carriers of an ancestral wisdom that recognizes power when it encounters it. Throughout history, women chose the strongest warrior, the most skillful hunters, the wisest leaders to perpetuate the species. This discerning ability hasn't vanished with modernity, it has simply become more sophisticated. Today a woman may not be able to consciously articulate why she's drawn to a particular man, but her primal instinct and feminine intuition immediately pick up on the quality of his energy. When you practice semen retention with awareness and purpose, several transformations begin to occur simultaneously on different levels of your being. On a physical level, your body begins to reabsorb and redistribute valuable nutrients that would normally be lost. Your physical energy increases, your vitality intensifies, your stamina expands. But these are only the most superficial manifestations of a much deeper alchemy. On an emotional level, you begin to experience a stability that once seemed impossible. Mood swings diminish, anxiety reduces, confidence solidifies. It's as if you've found an internal center of gravity that remains stable even when the world around you shakes violently. This emotional stability is magnetic. People are naturally drawn to those who radiate inner peace and security. On a mental level, clarity becomes your new norm. The fog that often obscures thought dissipates, revealing a crystalline lucidity that allows you to make wise decisions and act with purpose. Your concentration deepens, your creativity flourishes, your intuition sharpens. It's as if you've unlocked mental capabilities that were dormant, waiting only for the necessary energy to awaken them. But it's on a spiritual level that the real magic happens. When you retain and transmute your sexual energy, you are literally nourishing your soul with the most potent force available to a human being. This energy, instead of being dissipated in fleeting moments of pleasure, is refined and transformed into fuel for your spiritual evolution. You begin to perceive deeper connections with the universe, to feel a union with something greater than yourself, to experience states of consciousness that transcend common experience. Women perceive this spiritual transformation in ways that often surprise them. They report sensing a presence when they are near men who practice conscious retention. They describe a feeling of safety, as if they were in the presence of someone truly solid and reliable. They speak of an attraction that goes beyond the physical, a magnetism that seems to operate on deeper levels of the psyche. This attraction isn't based on looks or performance, but on substance. It's the difference between being attracted to a mirror that reflects borrowed light and being attracted to a source that generates its own luminosity. When a man possesses true inner power, when his energy isn't constantly leaking through unconscious discharges, he becomes like a spiritual magnet that naturally attracts those seeking authenticity in a world of masks. But we also need to talk about the obstacles, about the shadow that needs to be faced on this journey. Modern society has created a subtle, yet devastatingly effective psychological trap. It has convinced us that masculinity is linked to sexual conquest, that a man's worth is measured by the frequency of his releases, that repressing impulses is a sign of weakness or pathology. This is the great lie that keeps millions of men trapped in cycles of mediocrity. They believe they are being natural by following every impulse without realizing they are being manipulated by forces that profit from their weakness. The pornography industry, the culture of hedonism, the marketing that sexualizes everything, all these elements work together to keep men in a state of constant energy leakage. Breaking this conditioning requires courage, the courage to question accepted truths, to swim against the cultural current, to choose the less traveled path. It requires the courage to look at your own compulsive patterns and recognize that what you thought was pleasure may in fact be a sophisticated form of self-punishment. When you begin to practice semen retention, you're not just changing a habit, you're initiating an inner revolution. You're declaring war on mediocrity, choosing mastery over slavery, opting for transcendence instead of stagnation, and this inner transformation inevitably reflects how you are perceived by the outside world. Women begin to notice subtle but significant changes. Your voice carries more weight, your words have more impact, your presence commands more respect. You no longer need to compensate for an inner sense of emptiness with exaggerated behaviors or desperate attempts to impress. Your confidence comes from an inexhaustible source, the knowledge that you possess and control the most powerful force within yourself. This authentic confidence is irresistible because it's rare. We live in an age of insecure men disguised as confident ones, of bravado that hides deep vulnerabilities, of masks of masculinity covering scared boys. When a woman encounters a man who truly knows his own power, who doesn't need to prove anything to anyone, because he has already proven everything to himself, she instinctively recognizes that she is in the presence of something special. But the transmutation of sexual energy goes far beyond romantic attraction. When this life force is consciously channeled, it becomes fuel for all areas of life. Your professional career begins to thrive because you possess the energy and mental clarity needed to make wise decisions and act with determination. Your relationships deepen because you're no longer desperately seeking in others what can only be found within yourself. Your creativity explodes because you're fueling your imagination with the most potent force available to the human psyche. Your personal projects gain momentum because you possess the discipline and persistence needed to turn visions into reality. Your spirituality expands because you're using the energy that connects you directly to the creative source of the universe. Napoleon Hill observed that the most successful men of his time had one thing in common: they had learned to channel their sexual energy towards higher purposes. They didn't reject sexuality, but used it as fuel for their most ambitious dreams. They understood that this energy, when conserved and consciously directed, became the driving force behind every great achievement. And here we arrive at the heart of the matter, the difference between repression and transmutation. Repression means denying, suppressing, fighting against your natural impulses. Transmutation means acknowledging, honoring, and redirecting that energy towards higher purposes. It's like the difference between trying to stop a river by damming it until it bursts, and channeling its waters to generate electricity that will light up entire cities. When you learn to transmute your sexual energy, you don't become less sexual, you become more powerfully sexual, but in a refined and focused way. Your sexuality doesn't disappear, it elevates, purifies, becomes an expression of your inner power, instead of a compulsion that dominates you. Women sense this difference immediately because they recognize authenticity when they encounter it. There's a special magnetic quality in men who have mastered this art. They radiate a confidence that doesn't need to be announced, a strength that doesn't need to be demonstrated, a presence that speaks louder than 1,000 words. When they enter a room, something in the air changes. People instinctively turn towards them, not because they're demanding attention, but because their energy naturally attracts interest. Women describe this experience in fascinating ways. Some speak of a feeling of gravity, as if they're gently being pulled into this man's orbit. Others mention a quality of solid presence, as if he were more real, more substantial than the other men around. Many report an intuitive sense of safety, as if they were in the presence of someone truly trustworthy and strong. This perception isn't coincidence or imagination, it's the direct result of a real energetic transformation that occurs when a man learns to conserve and redirect his life force. Modern science is beginning to validate what ancient masters always knew, that there are subtle energy fields around the human body, and that these fields are drastically affected by our physical and mental practices. When you retain your vital essence, you're literally strengthening your energy field, you're increasing your spiritual voltage, becoming brighter on the invisible spectrum of human perception. Women, being naturally more sensitive to these subtle frequencies, are the first to notice when a man has made this transformation, but it's important to understand that this practice requires far more than simple physical abstinence. The true transmutation of sexual energy is an art that involves body, mind, and spirit working in perfect harmony. It requires mental discipline to redirect compulsive thoughts, emotional strength to confront addictive patterns, and spiritual vision to understand the higher purpose behind the practice. The transformation process isn't linear or easy. There will be moments of struggle, periods of doubt, temptations that will seem overwhelming. This is part of the journey. Each moment of resistance strengthens your will. Each victory over compulsion increases your confidence. Each day of conscious practice brings you closer to your true nature. And as you progress on this journey, you'll begin to notice changes that go far beyond feminine perception. Your relationship with yourself transforms completely. The inner dialogue that was once dominated by impulses and compulsions gradually becomes a higher conversation about purpose, meaning, and potential. You cease to be a slave to your desires and become the master of your destiny. This inner transformation is reflected in every aspect of your external life. Your work becomes more than a way to earn money, it becomes an expression of your purpose. Your relationships deepen because you're no longer seeking completeness through others, but offering your own integrity as a gift. Your creativity flourishes because you're fueling your imagination with the most potent force available to the human psyche. Women perceive this holistic transformation because it affects the totality of who you are. It's not just about how you behave on romantic dates, it's about how you conduct your entire life. It's about the quality of your presence in any situation, the depth of your wisdom in meaningful conversations, the solidity of your character when faced with challenges. This is the true difference between superficial attraction and authentic magnetism. The former is based on techniques, strategies, and performances that can be learned and copied. The latter emerges naturally from who you truly are when aligned with your inner power. It can't be faked, because it's the result of real transformation, not external manipulation. When you master the art of sexual transmutation, you become like a tuning fork attuned to the frequency of excellence. You naturally attract people, situations, and opportunities that resonate with that same high frequency. The women who are attracted to you aren't simply seduced by your looks or charm, they're magnetized by your substance, by your depth, by your authenticity. Here we arrive at the climax of this transformative revelation. The man who truly masters his sexual energy is not the one who denies or represses it, but the one who consciously navigates and transmutes it into power. He understands that his impulses are not enemies to be fought, but forces to be understood, honored, and redirected towards higher purposes. This understanding marks the birth of a new form of masculinity, one that doesn't need to assert itself through domination or conquest, because its strength comes from an inexhaustible inner source. It's a masculinity that attracts without pursuing, that leads without coercing, that inspires without manipulating. It's authentic power in action, the force that moves the world, through example, not brute force. Women instinctively recognize this quality because it represents what they've always sought, often without knowing how to name it. A man who knows his own worth, who doesn't need to steal it from others, who offers genuine strength instead of disguised weakness. A man who has chosen mastery over mediocrity, transcendence over stagnation, conscious power over unconscious compulsion. The journey of sexual transmutation is fundamentally a journey home to your true nature, to your original power, to the strength that has always existed within you, waiting only to be acknowledged, honored, and consciously directed. When you embrace this journey with sincerity and determination, you're not just changing how women perceive you, you're awakening to who you truly are beyond all the masks, conditioning, and limitations you once accepted as absolute truth. The invitation is before you. Continue living as a slave to unconscious impulses, squandering the most powerful force you possess in fleeting moments of empty pleasure, or begin your journey of transmutation, conservation, and refinement of this sacred energy into fuel for your total evolution today. The choice is yours, but remember, women are already sensing your energy, already perceiving the level of your inner strength. The only question that remains is what kind of energy will you choose to radiate into the world?